So this we're talking about how to sell Peru as a destination. And I think we start with saying, you know, why Peru? Who can go to Peru and why is it a good option for travelers right now? I think one of the main reasons, there's basically five reasons why it is such a good destination for everybody. You can open it up by, okay, you've been to Europe. Where do you want to go next? Asia's too far away. Peru is in the same time zone. So it's the same as Texas or same as time in Texas, Central Standard Time. Flights from Los Angeles and New York are only 8 hours, and from Miami, it's less than six. So it's a very close destination, which means that they could do a trip to Peru in something like 6 nights, or they could make it a longer trip in 10 to 12 um, nights with an add-on or something like that. But really, Machu Picchu, you can have the full, complete experience in as short as 6 nights. And without time changes and with very, short flights, it makes it a really easy destination to go to. It's also one of the most affordable countries in South America, so it still has a really good value. And I think the fourth reason is that it excels at luxury. Like Peru started, luxury tourism over 30 years ago when the Orient Express brought in the Belmont. So they've been really doing a good job of high-end hotels, high-end products. And the guides who do our tours in Machu Picchu, specifically for our company, but in general, they have a 4-year bachelor degree in tourism and in history. So high quality guides, outstanding hotels, great roads and vehicles for doing this touring. So just all in all, a very high-end experience that's conveniently located. And finally, if people are coming from Europe and they're like, well, what am I going to see? What am I going to do? It has a very unique culture, which I think is going to wow people. It has absolutely outstanding food. And finally, Machu Picchu, when you see it, it has magical powers. So it just makes everybody feel great. Today we have where we're offering this kind of promotion. So it's a culinary adventure. It's an 8-day trip. And we're trying to use this as like, if you don't have a paper copy of this from either JSL collection, request it and keep it on file. Keep it handy because it's a very good tool for when somebody comes in and asks and says, where should I go? What should I do? You have a price point. This is a medium high cost because it is very much focused on the culinary aspect of it. But the essence of this trip and how many nights you stay in each place is going to be the same, whether we do the culinary trip, whether we do an adventure trip, whether we do a photography trip, ladies trip, hiking trip, whatever we do, it's going to kind of follow the same pattern. So this is a really useful itinerary to have ready. And if you don't have it, we'll send this to you via email so that you have a reference for when people ask about a trip to Peru. If you know they're not interested in the culinary aspect of Peru, no problem. Just don't talk about it. But it's still a great plan, a great itinerary for people to follow. We love Peru because it's one of our most scalable destinations. And what that means is this particular trip would be about 4,500 per person if we do it in 4-star hotels, the Vista Dome train, same guides, same tours, same experiences, and maybe local houses for lunch. So here we have um, a higher end experience using luxury hotels. We've included some outstanding meals in this itinerary and made it a culinary adventure. And that's kind of going to be the cost of it. And this will be comparable to um, any high end luxury itinerary for Peru. So I'll get into the details of this coming up. So I'm sure everyone's heard of Gastón Acurio. He has a bunch of restaurants all around the world right now. And the newest chef in Lima, Virgilio Martínez, he had some Netflix specials. He has one of the most famous restaurants in the world, Central. And we're in this itinerary, we're really highlighting the buzz and the hype about the culinary experiences in Peru. So tons of fine dining restaurants, great street food and market tours. And Lima has really modernized and become a lot like safer and even safer from a food experience. So we can offer market tours, we can offer street food tours now because in general, with the way their cuisine has become heightened, that's a trickle down into all aspects of food. So you don't need there's not as much risk as eating street food in Lima now as there was 15, 20 years ago when I used to live there. We have cooking classes, farm to table experiences, and we do like local home lunches, and then we also do really nice restaurant lunches mixed into the itinerary, depending on on the best way for it to work with their itinerary. So this is Virgilio Martínez. He has a Central restaurant in Lima that he owns and operates with his wife. And this is Meal restaurant. And I'm sorry, but I'm going to jump ahead because I want to show this slide here. So these are the um, agricultural terraces of Morai. So here they were growing different crops at different altitudes for whichever crop would have the best outcome. And Virgilio Martinez and his wife Pia Leon, they built this restaurant Meal right next to these crop terraces. So you have to imagine that 800 years later, they're trying to replicate the growing techniques that the Incas were using. Like just to give you an idea, like the best restaurant in the world is copying Inca techniques for growing their food for this restaurant. So the lunch at Meal is about $500 per person, but it's an all immersive afternoon experience. It's something like 12 courses. You come in, you're doing a tour of the farm. They're showing you how they're growing all this different food. So it's a very, very unique experience. And it is absolutely the thing to do if you have someone who's a foodie. The other thing is getting people into Central in Lima is a very difficult restaurant to get into, but Meal, no problem. So if you have clients who want to eat at one of his restaurants, there's a lot of options that might not necessarily be Central if they want to eat there. So this is his wife, Pia Leon. In 2018, she opened up her restaurant, and now both restaurants have moved. So now it's like Central is on the top floor, Cajoli's on the second floor, and then they have like this experimental place where they do like the work for Meal restaurant and things like that. So it's very, very interesting. Again, I say, hey, you know what? If you can't get into Central restaurant, try Makua. Now, this restaurant is inside the Belmont Palacio Nazarines. She's the executive chef there. She was voted best female chef in the world. So we're talking really, really outstanding chef. And I always say, if you can't get into Central, don't worry about it. We'll send you to Meal, we'll send you to Muka, and you're going to have the best restaurants. So this is digging into a little deeper in the actual 7-night itinerary that is kind of the basis for all the Peru trips that we do. If you have more time, if you want to do the Inca Trail Express, we'll add some time in Sacred Valley. If you're going to be in Cusco over the festivals, we'll add some time in Cusco. But this is kind of our base and the way we like to plan our trips to Machu Picchu. And then obviously, if you have more time, we can just make the trip even better. So geographically, here's Peru, and then you have Lima on the coast, no altitude in Lima, fly to Cusco, and then we do our little circuit starting in the Sacred Valley into Machu Picchu. I always say that if you're using another provider in Peru, or if you're getting another quote from someone else in Peru, or your clients show you an itinerary in Peru, the first thing you want to check is where the first nights that they're staying at, and they should be in the Sacred Valley. We want to avoid people flying. If we look at this map, we want to avoid people flying into Cusco, staying in Cusco, and going to Machu Picchu. It's just too much travel and too short of a time. We usually only see that with some of the cruise ships who are trying to cut it all into 4 nights, which we want to try to avoid. This is our kind of the basic itinerary that we want to replicate, kind of 2 nights in Lima, 2 to 3 nights in the Sacred Valley, 1 night in Machu Picchu, and then 1 or 2 nights in Cusco. And we'll kind of go through this itinerary and the highlights of it and why we do it in this order. So Lima, I lived in Lima over 20 years ago, and the Lima today is nothing like the Lima of 20 years ago. Lima is a beautiful place to stay now. One of the things that I think made a huge difference is they grew all this grass up here on this promenade. And they built this kind of like seawall with the beautiful views that connects Barranca to Lima. We do bike tours on that upper level. It's really, really nice and looks a lot like Northern California now, which you definitely couldn't say 20 years ago. Our favorite hotels, Hotel B, Boutique Hotel, Belmont Miraflores Park, and the JW Marriott in Miraflores. This hotel, I mean, we use it a lot despite it being a JW Marriott because it has a great location. In front of the JW Marriott is the Larco Mar Mall, and inside there are some fabulous restaurants. Like this is not a food court in your regular mall. We're talking top chefs in this shopping center. And these are pictures from this is the Lima Cathedral, which you'll see during the historical tour, and the main kind of Lima Square with the presidential houses. This cathedral has the largest exposed crypt in the world. So when you go underneath the cathedral, it's just like skull and crossbones everywhere. And this teenagers love it. That's the bottom line here. Teenagers are like, why would I want to go on a historical tour? This sounds so boring. I don't want to go to these museums. You get them underneath there. They're taking photos for Instagram, making themselves look like they're in a metal band, and they're having a great time. It is totally worth the visit, and I highly recommend, for adults, obviously we can appreciate the history of this city, but I think for kids, that trip is a lot of fun. This restaurant is Huaca Puyana, and it's nice for the beginning. A couple nice things about this restaurant is that it's open on Sundays when most of the restaurants are closed. This restaurant is built around these ruins that are right in the middle of Miraflores. So right in this massive bustling town, you have a restaurant with view of ancient ruins, and the food is actually really good. So on Sunday nights, there's a couple restaurants that are open in Lima, and they all are very touristy. I'm not going to pretend that this isn't a touristy restaurant, but the food is excellent. And having these views, I think, is just a great way to kind of kick off your trip. So after Lima, we want people to fly to Cusco, and very soon they're going to be opening an airport in the Sacred Valley, which I definitely have mixed feelings about. But for now, we're flying into Cusco and then driving into the Sacred Valley. We like to offer an en route tour. And our idea is that we go from Cusco, which is 12,000 feet above sea level, to the Sacred Valley, which is about 8. So we want our trip to start in lower altitude than Cusco. Not to mention that the Sacred Valley is beautiful, and it's where all the tours take place. We were actually joking about this weaving workshop where it's one of those things that you see in an itinerary. You're like, I don't think I want to do that. It doesn't last very long, and it's excellent. Like, we don't take you to ones that have 30, 40 people. It's just you and these ladies, and they are giving a very interesting historical account of how they do these like how they do the dyeing and how they do the weaving. It's very interesting. So again, it's something that's on an itinerary. I ask you to not automatically discard it. Give it a chance. It's only 30 minutes of your time, and you might find that it's the best tour you do in the Sacred Valley. So these are the agricultural terraces of Marai. Nearby here are also the salt flats of Maras. So that's where they get their salt. And again, very interesting from a food perspective, from an architectural perspective, and great for taking pictures as well. Also in the Sacred Valley, we have the Huayra barbecue lunch, and the Huayra restaurant is inside Sol and Luna, the Relais and Chateau Hotel. Again, outstanding lunch. There's another lunch that I really like that we often do en route as well, which is in an old museum. And it's just a nice kind of welcome to the Sacred Valley. Like I said, we want to keep that day kind of low activity. So that way you're en route tour, you're going to go through, you're going to pet some llamas, check that off your to-do list, go have a fabulous lunch in an old museum. And then if you're feeling up for it, you go to Lantambo, or maybe you'll just head straight to your hotel. Part of the reason why this works is it's a non-active day for your first day, and it also is getting you to the hotel around check-in time. So you're not arriving to your hotel exhausted, just sitting around waiting for your room to be ready. So the idea is that we slowly take you through from Cusco through the Sacred Valley with a very nice lunch, getting you to your hotel in time for check-in. They all at this Waira restaurant, they also do a very good horse show. Again, it's just 30 minutes after lunch. They show some very classic Peruvian dances with these horses. It's very, very nice. Also, if you're staying at Soli Luna, they do have these horses for horseback riding in the Sacred Valley. And the only other hotel that has horses for riding is the Belmond in the Sacred Valley as well, Rio Sagrado. So these are our top picks in the Sacred Valley. Soli Luna, where the Waira restaurant is with the horse show and the horses, Belmond, Rio Sagrado, Explora, Tamboralinca, Inca Terra, and Hacienda Urubamba. The bottom line is you can't go wrong with any of these hotels. If you say, well, which is the best hotel? In order for me to answer that, I'm going to have 5 questions for you. How old are they? What kind of activities do they want to do? When are their travel dates? Because sometimes some of these hotels can be a really good value. And if you're comparing it to a hotel that's almost exactly the same, we're going to choose the hotel that's the better value. I love the Inca Terra chain for families as they offer a lot of activities for kids kind of through the hotel. Not so much tours, but more like activities. And specifically, we can look at some ones at the Machu Picchu hotel when we get there. But just backpacks for kids, coloring books, scavenger hunts around the property. They just make it a lot of fun for people with people who are younger. Also, the structure. So if you have older people who want a regular hotel structure that has an elevator in it, for example, somewhere like Belmont Rio Sagrado, Sole Luna, or Inca Terra might not be the best choice because their villas, they're separate from the entrance area. Maybe they don't want to leave their villa and walk to the restaurant or call the golf cart. A hotel like Tamboralinca might be a better option where it's one hotel unit. So these are all factors that we consider when we're choosing our hotels in the Sacred Valley. Sacred Valley, again, lots of cultural experiences, but also a lot of adventure. So Sacred Valley is where all the activities are going to take place. Whitewater rafting, paddleboarding, lots of hiking. If we have any picture, any of the markets like Pisac Market, Chinchero Market, or the town of Ollantaytambo, in our descriptions, this is going to sound like a market, but it is a town, a market, and ruins. So if half of your group wants to go shopping and half of your group wants to hike up into the ruins, you can do that all in that same destination. So they're not just markets. Chinchero is a beautiful town. Chinchero has beautiful ruins. You can hike from the Chinchero ruins to through the back of the mountain and see other ruins. So we can turn it into a hike as well. So lots of options in each same different lots of different activity options in the same area. This is just our map that we were talking about earlier about where you take the train and where you go to get to Machu Picchu. You can see these orange train tracks just underneath where it says Machu Picchu. So the train goes from the Sacred Valley is considered Urubamba and Ollantaytambo. So we're going to drive from Cusco doing an en route tour. So from Cusco on the bottom, there's basically 2 routes that we're going to take to get you to your hotel, either to Pisac, to the Pisac Market, Pisac Ruins, Pisac Town, or we'll go to Chinchero, where they same thing, weaving, it's town, ruins, hiking, whatever you want to do. So we're going to take one of those routes and then end up in Urubamba to where your hotel will be. Then that day, we will drive to Ollantaytambo, and then you'll take the train up to Machu Picchu. On the way, or to the town of Aguascalientes, and then there's a small bus that takes you up to Machu Picchu. For the return, the train is going to go all the way from Aguascalientes to Cusco. So it's not really clear on this map, but there is another train track that goes all the way to Poroy, just outside of Cusco from Aguascalientes, which is the longer train, which is the one we're going to do on the way back. So we're going to do easy driving through the Sacred Valley, lower altitude till we get to Machu Picchu, and then end in Cusco with the longer train. The trains that we generally use are the Vista Dome train. So we use this most of the time, unless the Hiram Bingham train is requested. This is a perfectly nice train, especially, even for the 4 hour return to Cusco. You'll see the windows, comfortable seats. They have tables. There is entertainment on board. They do serve coffee and breakfast in the morning. And then they do serve like a snack when you take it back to Cusco as well. And then there's also the luxury Hiram Bingham, the Belmont train. We usually only offer this one for the way back. It's very hard for me to justify a $500 train that's only 2 hours in the morning and just serving you breakfast. This train has a lot more value when you're coming back from Aguascalientes to Cusco. They're serving dinner, drinks, entertainment, all that. It's much better for the way back. Also, on your way to Machu Picchu, you're just excited to get there. You just want to see it. And on the way back, you're tired. You're from hiking Machu Picchu all day. You're happy to just sit back, relax, and enjoy that train for the 4 hour train ride back to Cusco. Machu Picchu, we always try to, so the train takes you into Aguascalientes. We'll choose one of the hotels there. And when we're in Machu Picchu, we always try and do 2 entrances. So we do this for a couple different reasons. Since COVID, there's been rules that have said that there's a limited amount of people who can go into Machu Picchu at any given time. And there's rules about you have to have a guide and you have to follow a circuit. So, I mean, to a degree. There's there's 4 different circuits, and then they have like A's and B's within those circuits. We want you to do the upper circuit in the afternoon. So you can kind of just, when you look down at this Machu Picchu picture, you can kind of see that you will follow around this path, looking down from the top parts of the Machu Picchu Citadel. And then the next day, we highly recommend that you do the lower circuit, and it's from the lower circuit that the hikes are offered. And we'll get to those hikes just after. So these are our top picks in Aguascalientes at Machu Picchu. And then we have these are the 3. So the Belmont Sanctuary Lodge is going through legal issues. They were supposed to close. Their concession was over, and the parks were not willing to renew it. They are saying, well, we provide so much employment and we've been around forever and we're a benefit to the historical site of Machu Picchu and all these things, and they're pushing to stay open. So right now, we can kind of make reservations for the next 2 months or so, knowing that at any time they could actually be closed until this suit is settled. So if you have anybody who has this sanctuary lodge on their bucket list, they need to go now. Like, get on that plane, get there while it's still open, because it could close any day. We're avoiding to book it for any booking that's really far in advance. But if we get closer, within 3 months before they travel and the hotel is still open, we can consider having them stay there. If not, Inca Terra Machu Picchu Pueblo Lodge, stunning property. Again, really, it's nestled with the jungle. There's orchids, there's Andean bears, so many things to see and do. And the rooms are so cute. And then you have Sumac, which we talked about, is also more of like this hotel kind of structure, elevators, hallways, rooms. So it is logistically easier once you're there, whereas Inca Terra has little villas that are kind of spread out into the mountain. So it's, again, better for families, young people. Sumac, more of a regular style hotel. So these are the hikes that you can see. that we are offered the following day. So they don't offer hike entrances in the afternoon, which is another reason why we only do it during the morning entrance. So you have your afternoon entrance to see the Citadel, and then you have your morning entrance to do one of the hikes if you want. Machu Picchu, just this top part of the mountain, this is the 2 hour kind of straight up stair hike that takes you to the top. This is the view. The picture is a view from Machu Picchu Mountain. The incline on Machu Picchu Mountain is about the same, but it's much more gradual. So it takes quite a bit longer. It's a 3 to 4 hour hike, still challenging, but not as steep. Same height, but a slower pace to kind of get there as you're not climbing straight up. And then here's the Citadel. There's a new hike that they're offering called Huchi Picchu, which is basically taking you halfway up the Huayna Picchu hike. They usually don't offer them at the same time, but it is an alternative if you want to still get that fabulous view, maybe without doing all the steep, steep stairs up there. They're going to ask about llamas. Will I see a llama? You will see a llama. You'll see them in Machu Picchu. You'll see them in the Sacred Valley. You'll see them at the weaving workshop. You will see llamas, I promise. After your visit to Machu Picchu, you'll take the train back to Cusco, either the Vista Dome or the Belmont, the Hiram Bingham train. And then here's some hotels that we love in Cusco. So the Monasterio is a classic hotel. The Inca Terra La Casona only has 12 rooms. And then the Belmont Palacio Nazarenas. Between these two Belmonts, I like Nazarenas a lot more. The rooms are much bigger. They're all suites. They all have oxygen in the rooms. It is significantly more expensive than Monasterio, as Monasterio has more room categories and more options. Only has oxygen in the higher categories. The lower categories at Monasterio do not. These three hotels are all in the same square. They're one block from each other. So at all these options, you can always eat at Mocha in Nazarenas. So don't worry about that. And then other hotels we really like, the Aruana Cusco Hotel, 4-star hotel, also has oxygen in all of the rooms, whereas the JW Marriott Palacio del Inca have oxygen in the mid category and higher rooms. Palacio del Inca and the JW Marriott are very, very similar when they're very similar. They're in different squares. They're converted convents or houses or palaces, sorry. And they're very similar, but Palacio del Inca tends to have better rates than the JW Marriott. Cusco, fabulous city. Very popular for New Year's Eve, actually, and lots of other festivals. So there's the Inti Raymi Festival, which is in June. And if you do have the opportunity to go to Cusco during one of these festivals, it's a fabulous experience. Availability obviously is very limited during these times of year, but we can set it up so that you're in one of the restaurants looking over the plaza, watching the parades go through. It really is fabulous. So these are some pictures from Inti Raymi, which is the festival in June. And so we would set you up on one of those balconies up there so that you can watch everybody kind of go through the square. In Cusco, we do a couple different tours. We do the Sacsay woman, obviously. We can do a shaman ceremony when we're in Cusco. The rooftop cooking class is absolutely fabulous. It is a small group tour. You visit a market and you make some food in a really nice kind of cooking class space. We highly recommend it for anybody, even if they're just a little bit interested in food. After this whole experience in Peru, you're going to want to learn how to take home a couple of recipes for some of these Peruvian dishes. These are the top 10 luxury hotels of Peru. We've covered most of them. Some of them are going to be ones that we do for an add-on, like the Las Casitas, the Titilaca Lodge, and Hotel Paracas and Cirque. So these ones are all outside of kind of the areas that we originally talked about. But we'll get to those when we talk about the add-ons. But they're just, I think the takeaway here about hotels is that there are so many great options. I'm not going to say that one hotel is better than another hotel in any location, but there are hotels that are better for certain clients than others. So let us help you kind of make that decision about what hotel is going to be the best option for your clients. And if we're doing something like booking a holiday, like booking a festive trip and it's last minute or availability is really tight, know that there's no bad choice. So whether you're at, Inca Terra, Machu Picchu, or whether you're at Sumac, you're still going to have an amazing experience. So I think it's important to not get too kind of hung up on this is the hotels that they want to be in because they're all consistently outstanding. At the Andean Explorer train, so we'll do a quick look at the train here. This is a relatively new product from Belmont, and it goes from Cusco to Lake Titicaca and then to Arequipa. This is, again, beautiful scenery, great way to connect these two places. And if you want to add Titicaca as an add-on, it's a great option. This I can't think of the word in English. This tramo, this anyway, this part of the train is it's about $3,000, and it's a 2-day tour, one night of sleeping on the train. I prefer for people to get off the train here and then spend a night somewhere like Titilaca Lodge. But you do have the opportunity to kind of sleep on the train again and then go back to Arequipa. In this 2-day, one-night tour, that it is a tour done with the Belmont. They do take you to visit Lake Titicaca and the Reed Islands. But I still think it's better to spend the whole night there and just do this one section of the train. This is the Andean Explorer train. And then it takes you, like I said, to do a 1-day visit to these Reed Islands. I think it's a good way to kind of connect and do this luxury package. So come down on the Belmont train, stay in the Belmont hotels that are very high end, and then take this train to Lake Titicaca. Keep in mind that the altitude of Lake Titicaca is even higher than Cusco, which is why we always want to do this trip Cusco to Lake Titicaca as opposed to doing this reverse. Just because that way we're always increasing, gradually getting higher the altitude to reduce chances of altitude sickness. So these are the Reed Islands. I think that, 2 nights is enough here to kind of see everything. But if you do want to do any active activities, you are going to need to give yourself a little bit more time. So if you do want to do like any of the hikes in the area or any of like paddle boarding or anything that's going to be a little bit more active, you should try and spend more time here to acclimatize. Hotel options are quite a bit more limited here. We have Titilaca Lodge, luxury property, and then it is a significant jump down into 4-star hotels in Lake Titicaca. For a kind of 12-night, 10-day trip, we can add on one of these Amazon lodges or an Amazon river cruise. When these two places are in two different areas. The Amazon lodges are in Puerto Maldonado, which is a short flight from Cusco, kind of more towards, kind of north and towards Bolivia in the jungle area. Whereas the Amazon cruises are from Iquitos, so they're going to be northern Peru, but also kind of towards the border of Peru. And so they depart from Iquitos. I recommend a 4-night cruise. I think that the 3-night cruise doesn't get you deep enough into the Amazon River, and I think that a 4 nights is a nicer amount of time for this. But they do offer 3-night, 4-night, and 7-night departures. And the Amazon lodges, I think, are a much better option for families, for kids, or for people who really want to get into nature. So the Inca Terra Amazon lodges are going to be a 4-star kind of rustic, but consistent with that Inca Terra name and quality. And if you want to get the deeper you get into the jungle, the more animals you're going to see and the more rustic the hotels will be. And then we also have the Galapagos add-ons. My recommendation is that if you are going to combine Peru and Galapagos, have at least 14 nights, at least 2 weeks to travel, because you do end up using a lot of your travel days connecting the two countries. And that's VIP Journeys talking about Peru. I guess we could open it up for any questions.